The only thing that we're interested in is putting money in your wallet. If you want to bet the fights, if you want to have a little bit of action, you are in the right place with my partner, Ian Parker. I am Brett Okamoto.
We're ready to rock between our parlays, our props, our straight picks. It's time to make money. Let's go.
All right, it has been a heck of a year for the UFC 2022, and it wraps up this Saturday in that building, the UFC Apex in Las Vegas, which will play host to the final card of the year. It's a UFC Fight Night with a middleweight main event between Jared Cannonier and Sean Strickland. Hello, everybody. I'm stumbling over my words here a little bit in this intro, but it's the final card of 2022, so I'm allowed to do that with Ian Parker, who has been my partner all year, taking us through the picks, the parlays, the long shot parlays, a little bit of everything, Ian. Final one of the year, man. How you feeling going into this one?
You know what? We're going to go out with a bang. Last week was really strong. This week is going to be stronger. It's been a great year, a lot of fun. I hope everyone learned from this, had a lot of fun, and like you say in the intro, put money in people's pockets.
Absolutely, which you did last week. So before we get to UFC Fight Night on Saturday, let's take a look back at last weekend. You were here in person in Las Vegas, and it was a profitable trip for you, Mr. Parker. What did you do with your best bets at UFC 282 at T-Mobile Arena?
I love when it says one. That's my favorite word when we do these recaps. Look, you know what? Santiago Ponzinibbio, he gave us a sweat. He made us wait till the third round. We'll take it. Duplessis was unbelievable. Rosenstrike made up for that. Didn't make us sweat at all. Paddy Pimblett, Jared Gordon. Look, to the judges, we agree. We think you messed up, but over 1.5, you did not matter to us. Ilya Topuria made it look easy. Buckley Curtis over 1.5. That was a little bit of a sweat. And the parlay, we hit. The odds came down because of that insane Ankalaev draw, but 6-0. And the parlay, I'll take that every day and twice on Sunday.
Heck yes, dude. And like you said, the parlay hit, everything hit, and we didn't even need to rely on some bad judging to get it done. All of those plays coming in pretty easy for you. You even said we had to sweat the Curtis Buckley knockout a little bit. Not really, man. It looked very easy, but then it happened to end right after the 1.5 mark hit. But leading up to
there you go.
It looked like a walk in the park. So great job last weekend at UFC 282. Let's keep it moving. We got a 6-fight main card, UFC Fight Night. You can find it on ESPN Plus. It starts at 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific. I mentioned a middleweight matchup between the number 3 ranked Jared Cannonier, number 7 ranked Sean Strickland. You've also got a ranked lightweight bout in there, Arman Zarukian taking on Damir Ismagulov. And then some more fights that we're going to break down from a betting perspective. You got Ermil Albazi, a guy who's a lot of people are high on in that flyweight division. Alex Caceres, who's been fighting forever, it seems like, taking on interesting opponent here in Julian Erosa, who has had some success lately inside the octagon. Drew Dober and Bobby Green. Really looking forward to talking through that one with you, Ian, and then Cody Brundage and Nihal Oleksiejczuk. But let's start with the main event. 185 pounds. Jared Cannonier taking on Sean Strickland. Cannonier, he's coming off of that title fight where he lost 4 or 5 rounds to Israel Adesanya. This is his 3rd fight in 2022, which he has not done for several years. So he's been very, very active at the age of 38. You got Sean Strickland coming back from a pretty bad loss to Alex Pereira, but of course, you know, Alex Pereira's been doing that to a lot of guys, so Sean Strickland not alone in getting knocked out by Alex Pereira. He is still the number 7th ranked middleweight, as you can see. I gotta be honest, Ian, I'm a little surprised, I suppose, that this is coming down right down the pipe at even money, -110, straight pick'em basically in this middleweight fight. Who do you think should be the favorite here, and who are we rolling with in the final main event of the year?
You know what? Based on ranking, you would think that Jared Cannonier would be the favorite, and Strickland got knocked out by the now champ Pereira. But for me, I actually do like Sean Strickland here. You know, sometimes these rankings can be a little confusing. We talk about how styles make fights. Sean Strickland is a very good fighter. Normally, he's smart in the cage. Not you moving your head against Pereira is the opposite of that, so I don't want to sound completely hypocritical there. But as we saw in his past fights, his boxing, his head movement, his angles, his cardio, very solid. Keeps getting better each fight. And what people probably don't even realize when he fought at the weight class below, he was more of a dominant wrestler. He held position. So if he needs to wrestle, which we thought he was going to do against Pereira, he didn't. He can do that here if he needs to. You know, we've seen on the other side with Jared Cannonier, if he doesn't land that punch or if he doesn't get that takedown, he gets lost. And we saw that in the 5-round fight against Israel Adesanya. Once he couldn't land something or get a takedown, it was almost like he just didn't know what to do, like a lost pup out there. And that could be from the inexperience in general. Although he's fought now, 8 different weight classes, and he keeps getting shredded, and he's got the power to end the fight. There's no question there. But I think Strickland has learned from that last fight. When you're going against a guy who's a power puncher, head movement, take your angles, and Strickland's got one of the best jabs in that division, and I really like Strickland here. And if you want to even get a little bit of plus money, Strickland by decision, I love that play as well.
Yeah, it's an interesting one for me, man. I got to be honest, I have a hard time betting either one of these guys because Jared Cannonier, especially in this particular spot, I don't think it will be an issue. I'm not expecting it to be an issue, but I do wonder, coming off of a long, long journey to get to a UFC championship, and then, like you said, he just was lost. He didn't know what to do. I was I think myself and a lot of other people were a little disappointed, I guess, in his effort, that he just seemed like he did kind of accept defeat in that fight. And so now you're coming back at age 38. What's he going to look like in his first fight out of that? But on the other side, Sean Strickland, you think he learned from that last fight. You think he learned that he's going to wrestle in that fight. Did he? Is Sean Strickland coachable in that way? I mean, I guess how much confidence do you have that Sean Strickland is going to look to wrestle in this one? Because I do think that if he does that, his odds of winning go up significantly.
If he's able to implement the wrestling game, if he needs to, he may be just fine jabbing his way to victory like he did against other opponents in the past. If it don't, fix it if it's not broken. But he's got a really good coaching team. He's got Eric Nissick, Extreme Couture over there. So I got to hope that they get in his ear just a little bit this time around. From what I've heard from his teammates, his coaches, he's actually a really smart fighter. He made one mistake, a really bad one that would have got him a title shot after. So I think he's fighting someone, Cannonier, that is not as good a striker as Pereira, has different type of power. And I just think he's got more options to win here. The line, for me, at -110 Strickland, I really like that value.
Okay, a little bit of value there on Sean Strickland. I think it's funny, and we should bring up that Sean Strickland did say this week, by the way, if he ever fought Alex Pereira again, he would fight him exactly the same way and stand with him, which hopefully he is lying about. But I guess we will see. I guess we'll see if we ever see that fight again. All right, let's move to the co-main event lightweight bout between Arman Tsarukyan and Damir Ismagulov. I'm a big Tsarukyan guy. He's only 26. I think the future is extremely bright for him. I mean, I'm not standing alone there. I think a lot of people would agree with that. Big fight for him, though. He's coming off of that loss against Mateusz Gamrot against Ismagulov, who is doing extremely well, but maybe a little bit quietly. He's 5-0 in the UFC. Perhaps it's quiet because they've all been by decision. Tsarukyan is the favorite here. That's no surprise. -180. Do we like Tsarukyan as a -180 favorite, or is that a little too high? And do we take a look at Ismagulov here?
Well, what's interesting? People believe Tsarukyan actually beat Mateusz Gamrot, and people thought that Damir Ismagulov lost to Gurov in that last fight. However, both were very close. Both are very talented fighters here. For me, it's going to come down to, can Arman Tsarukyan get his wrestling game going along with the striking? Because I think between the two, he's the better prospect. I think he's got the higher ceiling, and he just has only fought hard fights since he stepped foot in the UFC. He made his debut against Islam Makhachev. This is a young guy who just his ceiling is, no pun intended, through the roof. Sky's the limit here. But then you got someone, Ismagulov, who showed us in his last fight improved striking, very good takedown defense, very durable, good chin. And what's interesting about the two of them, Tsarukyan's 5 out of his 7 fights have gone to a decision, and all of Damir Ismagulov's fights have gone to a decision. So if you want to play this fight to go to a decision, it was -190 2 days ago. I believe it's now up to -225. It's a heavy price to pay, but when you got a guy in Ismagulov who is going to look to defend the takedowns, to keep the fight standing, try to jab from a distance against someone in Tsarukyan who has got an endless gas tank, constant pressure, it's going to be a really fun fight. This may even be fight of the night. I kind of hope it goes all 3 rounds. I want to see both these guys shine, win or lose. But for me, I do like Arman Tsarukyan here. I think -180 is still a playable number here. I think he's got more weapons. I think he's just the higher ceiling. So we will go Tsarukyan here, and I think what you said about him is really spot on.
Yep. So we're going Tsarukyan and the fight to go to the distance. We've lost a little bit of value because of the line movement. So maybe grab it now, and if it continues to go up, then potentially lay off. But I think you're right. I think there's going to be positional battles, some scrambles in here. You're going to see that time tick off the clock as both these guys work to get into some positions. Okay, let's move to the flyweight division. Amir Albazi from Iraq. He's now training in Las Vegas. A lot of, I wouldn't say hype, but a lot of intrigue around this guy as a potential new flyweight challenger in that 125-pound weight class, which is about to see, for the fourth time, the same title fight between Brandon Moreno and Davis Figueiredo. So some new blood would be nice, and Albazi has looked the part so far in the UFC. He's taken on Alessandro Costa, who won on the Contender Series as a big-time favorite, but he only won by split decision, so initially the UFC did not sign him to a contract. Now they bring him in. He's 12-2, coming in against as a big underdog here to Albazi at -440. How do you try to bet this one, Ian?
Nothing like not getting a contract on the Contender Series and being thrown in at possibly one of the brighter blue chip prospects in the division. It's a tall task for him, and that's why the numbers are showing -440 for someone in Albazi. Look, Albazi is a really solid prospect here. His submission game has looked top-notch. If you're going to bet this fight, I think you got to go by submission. I think he's going to be better in the scrambles. He's going to be faster. He's going to be looking to take the back. And I think for someone Alessandro Costa, this is going to be more of a learning experience here against a guy that maybe will follow in the footsteps. I think it might be a little too soon. Tough matchup, tough ask for him. I think Albazi is someone to keep an eye on over the next year, may make his way up the ranks. This is another experience fight for him to shine a little bit in the cage.
Yep. Sometimes, you know, when that call from the UFC comes, you got to take it as it is. And facing Albazi in your UFC debut, very, very tough task. But yeah, I look at those flyweight rankings, man. There are some fun fights at flyweight, which again is great because as much as I love Brandon Moreno and Davis and Figueiredo, we can't see the same title fight over and over and over again. So it's nice to see that there is some young, kind of up and coming talent there at 125 pounds. Let's go to a 145-pound bout between Alex Caceres and Julian Erosa. Alex Caceres closing in on his 12th year inside the UFC octagon. That's pretty remarkable by Caceres. He's got a 19-13 record, taking on Julian Erosa, who had that initial 0-3 stint in the UFC. Since then, he is 5-1. He's looked pretty good doing it. Not a huge favorite here, but notable one. -175 coming back on Alex Caceres, who has cashed as an underdog before. Do we like his chances of cashing as an underdog here, or do we like Erosa at -175?
You know, Caceres is more well-rounded than people think. He's got good submissions. He's got good striking. The only concern for him in this fight for me is that I think Erosa, well, not only concern, I think Erosa is just better everywhere as long as he doesn't get into a situation where Caceres gets on his back. On cue with the highlight right there. Caceres fights pretty smart, fights from a distance, gets creative. You know, he's not great anywhere, but he's good in a lot of different spots. He doesn't get tired. You know, for someone like Caceres, the reason why I think this is a bad matchup for him is because Julian Erosa does a really good job of putting on the pressure. Another guy with an endless gas tank, keeps going forward, really long reach. You know, if he doesn't get tagged early, he's a hard guy to really figure out because every single round, it seems like he has something different to throw, whether it's a flying knee. You know, and this is someone who's actually known for his submission game as well. So I like Julian Erosa here. I thought the number was going to be a little bit higher, to be honest, based on his 5-1 record. I think the reason why the odds are still kind of low enough is because the odds just, you know, he's made mistakes. There are times where you see him get caught in positions and he has to come from behind. I like Erosa here. I think he does the right thing. I think he knows where Caceres is dangerous, and I think Erosa gets another good win in this fight.
Okay, so Erosa, if he can limit his mistakes, good chance to beat Alex Caceres on that main card. Let's go to the 155-pound division. One of my favorite dudes in the sport to listen to, man. I actually tweeted this earlier. If you haven't watched Bobby Green at Media Day, go and listen to this man. He's fired up, always fired up, but he's always very, very honest. He goes from highs to he talks about serious things. He's joking around. He's just a character, man, and I like watching him compete. He brings in energy. Looking forward to maybe we'll see him in front of a crowd again at some point. But he's taking on Drew Dober. Bobby Green coming back from a little bit of an absence there. He had a USADA issue. They cleared him, and now he is back in action against Drew Dober, who is a -155 favorite. Drew Dober always has that wrestling in his back pocket. Bobby Green's like, I can wrestle too, so if he wants to try to take it to the ground, that's fine. Close odds here, -155 plus 130. Who do you like in this one, Ian?
Look, you can't ever count Bobby Green out of a fight. You know, gas tank for days, good wrestling, good boxing, talks during the fight, which sometimes really gets into people's heads. But I think with the break, I think with the last fight, him losing pretty bad, and someone in Drew Dober with that last fight against Alves where he just like took a beating and then delivered some nasty body shots. We know Dober packs ridiculous power at this weight class. He's got a chin made of cement. You know, for me, it's just more about him avoiding damage. And the way that Bobby Green does that is over the course of 3 rounds with a lot of pot shots, a lot of jabs. But Dober can also wrestle. You know, the thing is, Dober lands these monster shots early on. He doesn't seem to get tired. You know, these are one of these times where I think this is a bad matchup for Bobby Green, because we have seen when he does get hit with power, it's not that he goes away, but his output lessens. You know, it gets smaller and it decreases throughout the fight, where he is someone who normally gets better as the fight goes on. If he doesn't tag Dober early, I have a hard time seeing him beat Drew Dober. I think Dober is someone to keep an eye on over the next year. He could be a wild card dark horse in the division. He's got scary power, crazy chin, and like you said, he's got wrestling to back it up. I'm going to go with Drew Dober in this fight.
Yeah, and the big thing, you mentioned this in your breakdown, is that Drew Dober really doesn't get tired either, man. He fights like a guy and looks like a guy because of the power shots that he throws and the physicality of his wrestling. You say, hey, is this guy going to have the gas tank to get through 15 minutes? And he does. I mean, Drew Dober, that's not really an issue for him. And Bobby Green, that's where he can take advantage on some guys, is that pace. Dober, I think, is going to be able to maintain that pace and have the ability to take this fight where he wants. So minus 155, maybe a little bit of value there, even though he is favored. Let's wrap up this main card with Cody Brundage taking on Michał Oleksiejczuk. Oleksiejczuk was a guy that was having some love behind him in 2019. Then he took some losses. He lost to OSP, lost to Jimmy Crute. Maybe he wasn't quite ready for the spotlight. He has had some mixed success since then. He's a big favorite here, minus 280 against Cody Brundage, who comes out of Factory X there in Colorado. A big time dog here, plus 230. What do you think about this matchup at 185 pounds?
You know what? I'm a little confused by these odds. You know, Lord Michał, I get it. He's got knockout power. He's maybe fought better level competition. But for Cody Brundage, we've seen him get rocked, come back and win by sub. We've seen him out-cardio guys. He's got good wrestling here, which is where his opponent at minus 280 is no threat off his back. He's not getting submitted if he gets in top position. So for me, I think this is a chance to take a shot at an underdog in Brundage at over 2-1 odds. He's got weapons to win here. Listen, if he stands on the feet and fights reckless, he'll get knocked out. So if you want to take that this fight doesn't go the distance, you're going to pay heavy juice. But I get it. However, if he does take this fight to the ground, and we've seen other opponents do it, he can get a sub. He can grind out a win, take out the power of the Lord. I'm going to go with Cody Brundage here, plus 230. I'm going to roll the dice here with him.
All right, man, that'll wrap up the main card. Let's get into these prelims. And I got to say, Ian, there are a lot of prelims. There are a lot of good prelims at UFC Fight Night this weekend. As far as UFC Fight Nights, this might be the strongest lineup of prelims we've had all year. Cheyenne Vlismas, Jake Matthews is on the prelims, Saeed Nurmagomedov, Manel Kape. A lot of good, exciting names to talk about here on the prelims. Why don't you run through, as we always do, your picks for the final prelims of 2022?
Brett, you said it best, man. This has got some real bangers on here. This should be a fun fight night overall. We're going to go Sergey Morozov over Journey Newsom. Manel Kape, David Dvorak. That should be an action-packed fight. I do like Manel Kape there. Rinat Fakhretdinov versus Brian Battle. Look, Battle looked really solid in his last fight. However, his weakness, takedown defense. A guy in Rinat is such a takedown machine. I think the striking will probably cancel out here. I like Rinat. We're going to go Rafa Garcia. We're going to go Said Nurmagomedov over his opponent. That fight, the line's really close. I think Said Nurmagomedov's experience is going to be a real factor here. I like him in that one. Julian Marquez versus Deron Winn. Spoiler alert, one of these guys will be my best bet. Spoiler alert squared. It's going to be Julian Marquez. I don't know how he loses that fight. Jake Matthews, Matt Selmisberger. I am shocked this is not in the main card. That is going to be a really fun fight. I lean Jake Matthews there. Corey McKenna versus Cheyenne. I think Cheyenne's wrestling is going to cancel out the grappling of McKenna. She leans better with the striking. I like Cheyenne, and that should wrap up the prelims.
All right, a little bit of a nod there to the best bets. But before we get to best bets, let's take a look at the parlay. And you got plenty of fights to pick from. A 14-fight card on Saturday. Where are we going with the parlay, Ian?
I needed something a little bit above 2-1 on this card. I am going Jake Matthews. His last fight against Andre Fiallo, he looked fantastic. Selmisberger, I thought, got a little exposed in his fight against Morano. We know he's tough. I think Matthews is just the experience, the vet there. I'm going with him. Amir Albazi to win. Listen, this guy's got to get it done here. To win by submission will make that line jump. However, for the parlay, we just need him to win. Sergey Morozov and Manel Kape, we're going to add as favorites there. And we're going to get it at plus 224 for all those four guys just to win.
All right, plus 224 to round out our final parlay of the year. How about the best bets after going 6-0 last weekend?
No pressure. I set the bar really high, and we are going to do it again. In the main event, I am going Sean Strickland at minus 110. This is a huge opportunity for him to beat literally the number 3 guy to get back into that name recognition. You know, with Whitaker and Paulo Costa there, you're going to have Izzy versus Pereira. After that, it could be Strickland. I am so big on Julian Marquez this week. You know, coming off that loss to Gregory Rodriguez, he's got more tools here. And Deron Wynn just doesn't seem like a guy. I mean, let's be real. He should not be a middleweight. I don't even know if he should be in the UFC at this point. Marquez should absolutely win this fight. I'm going Cheyenne at that number. A little higher than I like. I just think she's better overall than McKenna. I am going to go Renat over Brian Battle here. Those takedowns should be the key to victory. And last but not least, Arman Sarukian, and we talked about him going the distance. We talked about him at minus 180. But Brett, at by decision is plus 130. I need plus money as one of my plays. We're going to go with all these as the best bets, and I'm hoping for another clean sweep to end the year.
That would be a heck of a way to end the year. You know what would also be a heck of a way to end the year is to hit your final long shot parlay. How big of a long shot are we going with on Saturday?
You know, there wasn't too many big plays or underdogs or giant props I saw that really stuck out. So we're going to go with a lot of close lines and one prop. I'm going to go Rafa Garcia at minus 130. Cody Brundage, that number really stuck out to me. If he can wrestle and uses jiu-jitsu, he's got such a major advantage on the floor, so we're going to go him there. Amir Albazi, on the regular parlay, we just need him to win. On the long shot, win by submission. And look, plus 110, that means it's expected. And last but not least, I don't usually bet against guys with the last name Nurmagomedov, and I'm not going to start now, so he's going to be the last leg of that long shot, minus 115. We're getting plus 2,290 on that one. Not terrible, not one of our longest shots, but long enough that it can make someone happy during the holidays.
Yeah, man, 23-1. I can live with 23-1 on the long shot. Okay, so that's it. We just went through the prelims. Again, they are great prelims, so don't miss them. You can find them at 4 Eastern on ESPN Plus. Main card starts at 7 Eastern on ESPN Plus. This was the final UFC best bet show in terms of giving out picks, but we do have a year-end show coming out next Monday in which we will look back on the year that was, maybe do some previews to 2023. It has been a fun year, Ian. You have done a tremendous job here breaking down fights and also doing what's important is hitting those bets and putting money in our wallets. So thank you for that. Excellent year. Hopefully we have a great way to finish it out on Saturday at UFC Fight Night, and then we are off and running in 2023 with a whole slate of UFC cards. Until then, we will see you at the year-end show and then in 2023. Goodbye.